Fox Business Alert: investors are in buy now, pay now mode when it comes to Klarna stock. The buy now, pay later company's long-awaited debut on the New York Stock Exchange kicked off just after 1 p.m. Eastern. After pricing at $40 a share, above the expected range of $35 to $37 a share, Klarna's first trade spiked 30% to $52. It's still up, but a bit lower. It's at 14% higher, $45.67. Valuation stands at $19.65 billion. The Swedish fintech upsized its IPO, indicating very strong demand for the 20-year-old company, which really helped pioneer the buy now, pay later model that is now trying to disrupt the global banking business. Joining us now from the New York Stock Exchange, Klarna CEO Sebastian Siemiatkowski. Well, Sebastian, $19.5 billion valuation, not bad for a kid who grew up the son of a cab driver. What's today like for you?
Wow, it's been obviously very special, and I'm very proud of what the team has accomplished. But as you and I spoke about, Liz, I'll tell you still on an emotional level, when I was in Bentonville, Arkansas, signing the deal with Walmart and standing by Sam Walton's grave, I'm sorry, but it beats this. That was just the dream of a kid to work with such a fantastic company and work with the biggest retailers in the world. So this has been fantastic, but emotionally speaking, that was a different level.
Well, yeah, don't say that too loudly around the nicey people. they love to hear this is the greatest moment in my life, but I think what you're saying and your honesty about it is that you've been running this company for 20 years through thick and thin. You're not just some Johnny-come-lately who came up with the idea in Silicon Valley. You've been through very tough times, lots of recessions, a near depression, and yet here you are. You're going public today. What is it that you hope to accomplish from it? Because it's not like you raised an incredible amount of money here.
No, look, I think for us, again, as to your point, right, we only raised $200 million in the IPO. Most of this is secondaries. We have a lot of shareholders and employees and early investors who now get some liquidity at least, not a lot. Most of them have kept most of their shares. Personally, I haven't sold a single share today. But I think it's a good thing. Look, it's a fantastic marketing opportunity. In the US, there's been a demand for an alternative to credit cards. People are tired of getting in debt, tired of the highest interest rates that they charge, and they want a better product. And this 0% fixed installments, low, people borrowing average $100 from us versus $5,000 on a credit card. So there's a big demand. This is an opportunity for us to spread the word, get more people excited about it and more people trying it out, and I'm very, very happy about that.
Well, it's way more now than a buy now, pay later company. Usually on IPO day, we ask companies, how are you going to scale up? You're already well into scaling up. I mean, if I could say it, it feels like you guys really want to be a super app. You've got the Klarna card now. This is a debit card because, I mean, give the thinking behind it. People use buy now, pay later. Maybe they buy 1, 2, 3, 4 items a month. What does the card get you for the company and get them as a card user?
Well, look, most cards are invented by people sitting here in Manhattan who think about loyalty points, they think about airport lounges. They're cards made for themselves, right? But there's a big group. There was a McKinsey study from 2015 showed 20% of American households that are actually quite good off financially, but they feel like credit cards are the product of the devil. They want a product that is fixed installments, budgeting, easy to use. They can occasionally use a little bit of credit for 0% to pay something off on an installment. And those 20% are the one we're catering to. And I recently was in a conversation with a customer of ours. She was like, yeah, my mom called me and she was like, are you using that buy now, pay later? Because I'm not sure it's a good thing. And she asked her mom, like, yeah, but mom, you have a credit card, right? Yeah. A $4,000 of debt and high interest, yes. Well, mom, I borrow $100 at 0% interest, right? It's just who's financially responsible. So I think that it's just a different product for a different audience, and and there's a lot of Americans that like this setup.
I want to ask about that business model in just a second, but staying with the card idea, I find it fascinating. You had told me that when you first launched it, 700,000 Americans signed up for the card, and there are 5 million people on the waiting list. What does it take to get off the waiting list?
It's a good question. It's actually my favorite moment during the IPO roadshow. We go to these fancy offices, and people in the big skyscrapers of Manhattan. But then I go into the reception area, and the guy sitting in the reception area, he's taking our identification cards, and he says, "Oh, you're with Klarna?" I was like, "Yes." Do you use it? It's like, "Yeah, I love it. I use it all the time. I'm just on the waiting list. Can you get me a card?" So that was my favorite moment of the whole thing.
Well, how do you get off the waiting list? I mean, there are 5 million people, some of them watching right now.
For sure, and I think we are going to, scale up. But we want to be responsible, and we do it in mindful ways. So we're going to bring more and more people on board. But it is very exciting. I mean, already by if we would even reach 5 million, that in itself already would make us one of the bigger card issuers in the U.S. Actually. So it's a quite interesting start to something that we launched 6 weeks ago.
Is it kind of a Trojan horse way of getting into not just people's wallets, but their minds, and pulling them away from their traditional legacy banks? It feels like that's where you guys want to go.
That's exactly it, and that's exactly what we have done in Europe to a large degree. A lot of people start seeing Klarna for the everyday purchases, all types of purchases, like a wallet, which you can use for everything. And the truth is, this is an industry very different than Walmart. Like Walmart, to me, one of the things that inspired me so much with that business is when Sam started making it bigger and more profitable, what did he do? He lowered prices and increased quality. And he gave most of that profit back to his customers. If you do that decade over decade, you create something that's unstoppable. And the problem is with banks, when, Liz, last time did you hear a bank say, "Wow, we had so much profit this year, we're going to give it back in lower interest to our customer, lower prices and better quality services"? It's just not been happening. And we want to do the same in banking. We want to bring better quality, lower prices, bring the profits back to the consumers. And I think if we can continue like we do for 2 decades now, continue doing that, that can actually spell a disruption to retail banking.
Yeah, I get that. You've got a lot of partnerships. You mentioned the one with Walmart. You're adding more and more partners. This brings in the business model. So this young woman you just referenced, who said, "Yeah, but Mom, I borrowed $100 at 0 interest." Tell our viewers and potential shareholders of Klarna, how do you make money?
Well, so what we've noticed is that merchants in the US already pay too much for accepting credit cards. They pay 200 to 250 basis points, or 2.5%. In addition to that, the credit card companies make another 2.5% in interest rates and so forth. So what we are doing is we're offering this to merchants, and they're in themselves offering that to the consumers. So it's the merchants paying for this because they see that as they give people this 0% interest-free credit on installments, they're increasing their sales. eBay just reported on the quarterly earnings how Klarna has contributed to bring more customers to them, or increase their average order value, and has brought in a new generation of customers for eBay. So we're very proud of those results with a company like that, and I think that's the reason they're happy to pay for it. But it's actually on par with what they pay to credit cards. This is simply not a industry that has functioned very well, and there's too much excess profit. So us coming from Europe, where credit cards cost 40 basis points, 0.4%, and debit 0.2, we are looking at a market where people have just charged too much, and there's an opportunity to offer this more efficiently, more cost consciously, and with more value for merchants and consumers alike. Yeah,
we should actually be putting up the big banks and those charts, because those are the guys that you're taking on. That said, Sebastian, when they feel their air hose is being stepped on, they will fight like hell to protect it. They might try and buy you, who knows what. Are you for sale if a JP Morgan or somebody out there says, "We'd like to actually buy you"?
Well, look, I've been doing this for 2 decades. I hope to get a few more decades doing this. That's not the outcome I'm looking for. I'm looking for the outcome of trying to help and bring competition to this industry. So that's what I'm hoping for.
We always try and give our viewers a little bit of insight, not just into the horse, the company, but the jockey, the leader of it. As I said, you were the son of a cab driver. Your parents were Polish immigrants into Sweden, refugees actually, fleeing communist Poland. And your dad, you had very modest means, and your parents did get into debt. Is that what really sparked your interest in starting a company like this?
Yeah, I don't know really, I can't explain why. My father always wanted me to be a doctor because he didn't manage to become a doctor, so that was kind of what he was hoping for. And even as Klarna started growing, they were still like, finish your business school degree, please, finish your business school degree. And I eventually did, so I got mom and dad happy at that point of time. No, I mean, I think that, look, we grew up in fairly modest beginnings, and there was definitely my maybe childish, naive interpretation of my mom and dad quarreling all the time was that it was about money. And I just felt that, like, if I could just fix money for my parents, then, you know, we would live happily ever after. And I think that grew into me an interest in entrepreneurship. But I especially got interested in people like Sam Walton or Ingvar Kamprad, the famous Swedish founder of IKEA, this amazing company. Sure. And it just always inspired me, this adventure of building a business. Can you imagine Sam was flying a plane in the 70s, going around in the Midwest, spotting new places for new Walmarts? It's an adventure. It's a fantastic experience. Okay. And at the same point of time, if you do something good for your customers, then you're creating a lot of value for society. So it's inspiring.
Well, you're creating a 14% gain for your early investors here. Sebastian, congratulations on the first day of trade. Please come back. We want to continue to watch you. I know in past quarters you've been profitable. Most recent one, you dipped into the negative, but something tells me that you'll be fighting hard to get back into the green. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.